Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting into today? We are getting into another episode of Arcane League of Legends. We're on season 2 episode 2 and it's called Watch It All Burn. I do apologise to how few and far between some of my videos have been. As you can tell, I am not very well at this moment in time, a little bit under the weather, so I am doing everything that I can do, and I will still continue to do my react reviews breakdowns to Arcane. And also, I will also still continue to do my react review breakdowns to the Ultimatum Marry or Move On. I understand that they've already got to the reunion, but you will still be getting videos off me regardless, because I'm still going to be watching it, because I ain't watched it fully. Okay, so I'll still be doing my reviews of those, so don't you worry about that. Anyway, before we get into this video, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because you know what, I continue to be on the road to 1k, and I do see all of you newcomers that have come in and getting my subscribing a little bit further along. I do thank you, and thank you for joining our little family called the Renegade Army. Okay, you're all part of my renegades now, alright? Anyway, so in this one, it starts off with the opening sequence scenes that you see Jinx is underwater with Silco. Now, she's talking about how everything has literally gone to shit since he's killed, so she's sending him off on his watery grave, basically. That's what she's doing, and she's literally talking to him like he's still there. Jinx doesn't necessarily realise how bad Silco was for her, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like that, I can't remember the term for it, that type of hostage situation where they begin to have those certain types of feelings, or feel indebted to the person that's taken them hostage and stuff like that. This is kind of how Jinx is, because at the end of the day, let's not forget, her sister had a few choice words for her, bearing in mind she was still only young then and a bit wet behind the ears and very naive, thinking she was helping out, but she didn't. She destroyed everything and everyone in one fell swoop, basically, thinking she was helping out. Now, what people failed to see was from that episode when she called her a jinx and walked off, Vi was just about to go and get her sister back, when the person who was one of the what do they call them officers, you know who I mean, one of the officers basically dragged Vi off and basically put something over her mouth to literally knock her out, so she couldn't go back and save her daughter. And then, you know, we have this madman that decided to take her under his wing and literally fathered her in the worst way possible. So now we have Jinx.
Well, it's all going to shit. Camp Baron's warring for control of the lanes, just like when Vander shoved off. Could someone put all those holes in her head?
Okay, so in this episode, I think for me, what came out is more about Jinx's growth and how she then becomes a beacon of light to others within the resistance itself, and that you see that open up through many other episodes. It's something that she didn't technically want, but now she is the face of basically what people wanted in terms of resisting what's going on, resisting the entrapment of the enforcers, the disparaging gap between Piltover and Zane. So basically that's who they've put at the forefront is Jinx, because of what she did, because of she shut down the whole of that governing body. She fought back in that sense. That's why they've basically put her as the face of resistance, basically. So it's not something that she wanted to be a part of, but that's what's happened. You know, her action had a consequence at the end of the day. So as we know, Silco groomed her to be the perfect tool for his use in terms of destruction and demise. In terms of the Piltover lot, he literally wanted to bring the upper world, as you called it, down out of the echelons that they had. He didn't necessarily want him and them to be equal, but he definitely wanted to be above them. That's what he wanted to do, but instead he ended up getting killed by Jinx by accident, to be honest with you. So basically now it's time for Jinx, aka Powder, whichever way you want to look at her, because she's still one and the same, to forge her own path. I will say once again, I did download the soundtrack for season 2 because I just love it. Each and every episode, especially when they're telling a story through the shots of what's happening, either with Vi, with Jinx, with Caitlyn, with all the others around the peripheral, the music fits the mood. Like, it tells the story that they want it to portray, and it literally draws you right in once you're sitting there and you're listening to this type of emotive music, and it's literally speaking the words of what's happening within that sequence of events. And I have to say, I have to give them props. I have to give props to whoever did the score in terms of the music itself and putting it together, in terms of the expert and animation in it, in terms of the cinematography as well, in terms of the storyline, the colours, everything. It's just literally striking. And I'd have to say, I've said, if I was to ever go down the cosplay realm, yeah, and I was doing Arcane, then I'd either be Echo, Jinx or Vi. That's who I'd do. Or on the flip side, I might do Mel and I might do her mother. But yeah, my first point of call will be Echo or Jinx, because yes, I do like those two. First and foremost, I do like Jinx and I do like Echo. So when it brings out the opening song, you see like all of them, including Silco and his little underground heads of each of the gangs that's in the underground, sitting around what you'd call an open table basically. And you see the hierarchy of those leaders, and you see each one start to disappear until you're left with three of the heads who are literally vying for the head honcho seat. Basically, they want the hot seat that Silco was in. They want to rule over the underworld. But to be fair, because they're arguing amongst themselves and they see each other as an enemy, none of them would be very good at being in the hierarchy of anything, because they're literally all about greed over peace. They're literally all about destruction of something that it is that they want over anything else basically.
Red rose on your grave, one by one, all keep coming. You go, no.
So yeah, I don't think with Silco going, I don't think there's going to be anybody there that will be able to take that mantle, except for probably Savika, but I don't think she'd be wanting to do that either. So in this episode, you are introduced to a young girl named Aisha. Now she's getting chased by one of the gangs. They're quite old worldly type of gangs, but they have like a metal cup over their mouth. For the life of me, I can't remember the gang members' names in that regard. They didn't care if they harmed adults and children alike at the end of the day. Now Aisha, as she managed to get away from these people, actually fell on top of Jinx as she was walking through, and it was Jinx who basically saved her life. And Aisha becomes Jinx's little sidekick, make no doubt about it. Jinx basically has like a heart, she has feelings in that sense, and she did become kind of attached to this little girl. But this little girl Aisha also shows a lot of courage, and she's encouraging Jinx to care about her basically, and to show a love, or a type of version of love that Jinx could show to her. So then we get introduced to the last members of Silco's underground team. So we have Margot, we have the Crossheads, and we see Smeech. Now Smeech is an ugly looking thing. Basically, he is the stuff that nightmares are made of. The other ones are too, but Smeech is even worse. Let's just put it this way. He's kind of like a cross between a rat, between a bat, and a mechanical looking creature. So he's heading up a raid on one of the Chem Barons, basically, but they encounter, when they're going to this place, this noxious type of gas called the Grey, which pollutes the air and affects everyone that's below in Zorn, basically. So the air quality there is not good in the first place, but they use this noxious gas, the Grey, as some kind of chemical warfare weapon. So they see one of the other cat... They kind of look like cat women, because that's what they're dressed as, like in this leather looking outfits with the cat ears and, you know, the mask on and everything like that, because that's kind of what they look like. So they see one of those people struggling for air on the outside. So what Smeech does is send his little henchman in. Well, he's not necessarily his henchman, he's more or less like his bookmaker. He does the accountants and this, that and the other. And he goes in, even though they're giving him a gas mask, you can still see that this type of shit is affecting him, like proper affecting him. We see him searching the place. Not sure what it is that he's searching for, but you know, they're more than likely looking to raid the place now it's been shut down or been fucked up, basically. So you see something with luminescent eyes literally come out at this man, growl, he screams, and then it quickly cuts off, so we don't know what's happened to this man at this point. So Savika, who is the right hand woman of Silco, where she was the right hand woman of Silco, calls a meeting with the remaining members, with the remaining leaders, basically, and is telling them that these turf wars have to stop, because at the end of the day they're literally fighting amongst themselves. They're doing the job of what the Piltover lot would want them to do, to kill themselves off, so then it would be easier for them to take over, to do what it is necessary to make sure the people of Zorn never meet the upper layers of Piltover at the end of the day. So it will remain to be seen if Savika's able to chat some sense into these people, because they live by their own set of rules, but they do have a community and group rule as well, which does come out here. So she wants everybody there to kind of join forces at the end of the day, because she said what I was saying in regards to the topside lot, that, you know, they will revel in the disharmony that and the corruption that's going on amongst them at this moment in time. They will revel in their demise, because they see the people of Zorn as filth, basically. They don't want to see them permeate their lives in any way, shape or form. So if they got rid of each other, destroyed each other, all the better for those in Piltover at the end of the day. I don't think Savika will manage to pull them onto side. Each of those leaders hate each other. As I said, it's just literally about greed and dominance for them. So the Batfink looking gargoyle, as I've dubbed him, Smeech, has a different solution, and his solution is basically to hand over Jinx, because Jinx is a wanted person, and to take the reward money.
Is the real enemy. Us killing each other is playing right into their hands. And join forces. They don't know the first thing about fighting in the fissures.
She's right. Different solution. We give them Jinx.
We don't hand over our people.
Bird without a wing's just a funny looking rat. You help me put a bow on Baby Blue for our friends upstairs?
Bearing in mind, that won't work, because at the end of the day, the code that they live by is they don't snitch on each other. They don't hand over one of their own, and Savika reminds Smeech of that we don't hand over our own people at the end of the day. Smeech turns around to Savika and says to her, basically, because Savika's lost an arm, and she did have a mechanical arm, but, you know, Jinx fucked it up at the end of the day. And he does say to her that a bird without a wing is a funny looking rat. So they're not going to take her too seriously at all. So Smeech wants to go ahead with this plan of capturing Jinx and basically providing her in a gift wrapped package to the people up above, for them to do what it is the fuck they want to do with her at the end of the day, not knowing full well that that won't work out to Smeech's favour. So I don't know, but now with Silcone at the head, it just appears that everything's literally as Jinx said, has gone to shit, it's gone to pot at the end of the day. So you see Savika after that meeting, she goes off to Silco's office and she's trying to fix her bionic arm by herself, but it proves difficult. So she gets angry and shouts at like the empty chair as she believes the room's empty, saying, I can't believe that you're dead and I'm still here mopping up your freaking messes at the end of the day. So as we know, Savika was Silco's enforcer in the Down Below. Like, he didn't sneeze without her knowing about it. She did absolutely everything. So it stands to reason why she definitely doesn't want to see his legacy go to shit. But the thing of it, the crux of it would be, is she able to involve Jinx into the plan that she does have? So she doesn't realise that Jinx is actually in the room with her until Jinx speaks up. Now, Jinx, as I've already said, is a very, very, very lost soul at the end of the day. They do kind of bond over the fact that Silco is not there and the fact that he couldn't do anything for himself, because that's why Jinx had gone to his office, because she would go there at a certain point every day. She was always in this man's company, but she'd also use, if you'd watched season 1, he'd had something wrong. Silco had something wrong with his eye, and she would sit on him using this contraption, and it's got a thin sharp point on it, and she'd quickly do a quick injection to his eye, releasing whatever was in it, releasing the pressure of whatever was behind his eye, and he couldn't do that by himself. So they do bond over the things that he couldn't do. So Savika basically turns around and says, well, what are we supposed to do now? This is why I love Jinx, because she never does what you expect her to do. She literally sits there with Savika's hands flopping on the table like is flopping it around and says, just watch it all burn at the end of the day. And she's right. His legacy has literally got to burn to the ground, because it wasn't a great legacy to begin with, and now that he's gone, the only person who could have headed that up is dead. The others are not going to follow suit. They were too greedy in regards to what it is that they wanted. Only Silco could hold them in line, because Silco held all the power. Now that that power's gone, the others are like scrambling for it, but they wouldn't know what to do with it if they had it. It'd be even worse if they flipping had it at the end of the day. So
Big baby couldn't do it himself.
Now he'd have me all over the lanes running his collections. He dips out. The whole world flips over. The hell are we supposed to do now?
Watch it all burn.
Jinx ends up leaving, and then she ends up getting followed by Batfink Gargoyle, and his goons. She doesn't realise it at the end of the day, but her friend Aisha has popped up as well, and I think it's more than likely to warn her. So it flips to Victor, who's still in this hex core bubble. Basically, his name is being whispered to him over and over again, and then you hear this voice scream loudly for him, and it's basically Sky. Who got killed in the first season when she was trying to save Victor from, I think, being sucked into this hex core that had literally changed due to the fact that he blood bonded with the damn thing. So as she's holding onto him, you see her literally disintegrate. So whatever's left is just ash, her clothes, and the book that she had, and her glasses. So she's been sucked into this thing. So now he can hear her. Basically, he can hear her, and as time goes on, he can see her too. He ends up waking up as her voice pulls him out of what it is that it's pulling him out of, basically. So Victor is basically fully connected with the Arcane at this point via the hex core. He's been given these types of abilities, but I would say for Victor it comes at a price. So he wished to fix his imperfections, but instead he became something else once he's bonded with this type of, I don't even know what you can call it. It's just like some ethereal type of essence, basically, and it's literally attached itself to Victor. So as he comes out of this hex core bubble, and he comes out of the thing that's kept him alive, he's literally he's more, how can I say it? He's more machine than he is man. At the end of the day, his face is still there, but it's also got a gradient of colour to it, and he can hear a lot more things. He's more in tune and clicked in to certain things that Jace would not necessarily see, to people like us that would not necessarily see and hear, basically. So he as I said, he looks like this is it like an intricate infrastructure around his body. He's become something else entirely. So he asks Jace what he is, and Jace thinks he's alive. Jace thinks Viktor is very much alive, but Viktor isn't. I think that's just the subconscious of him right about now that Viktor is talking to, that the Viktor is talking to, Jace is talking to. I think the Viktor that Jace knew is no longer there. Parts of him are there, but he's fully not there in that sense. So Jace is basically, he's turned to Jace and he says, I was supposed to die, and that Jace was supposed to have followed through on the promise that he would destroy the hex core, but Jace didn't understand why he had to destroy that hex core, because all he wanted was his friend to be alive and well, basically. So Jace believes that he and Viktor can make it all right together, but Viktor, as I said, Viktor's not on this plane. He's gone, he's left. You know what, he's shut that door in terms of who he once was and who he is now. So Jace is not going to be the same person to him as they once were in terms of friends. So he basically says to Jace that, you know what, they're both going on a different path, and he tells basically Jace in not so many words that they're both on a different path, and that their friendship is basically null and void. They can't go anywhere any more further together. He's got to go and figure out his own situation. But at the end of the day, Jace is going to come up when it matters. Them two are going to have to deal with each other when it matters, and you see that as the ending sequences come within this season. But I haven't got there yet, so you're gonna have to wait for me to catch up. So basically Viktor says goodbye to Jace and walks off. So you see Echo, because Echo is living underground in this place where it's got a massive tree, a living tree basically, that you don't really see much in the underground, but it's very much free and open because he's part of this group called the Firelights basically. So he's bringing more displaced people to his underground haven, so they can have safety from persecution from their own and from those above, because don't forget, it's got a lot worse now that Silco's not there for their own people at the end of the day.
There's so many of them.
It's all the fighting security risk.
We're not turning people away.
So it started to note that these leaves are falling off this tree, and there's multicolored swirls on the leaves, which shouldn't be happening in the slightest. So Echo is trying to find out what it is to try and save his home, because whatever it is has to do with the situation that happened in Piltover. It has to do with the Arcane. Everybody is linked to this Arcane, and once it's the power of the Arcane is being used, it starts to do a snowball effect and affect everybody else from up above and from down below basically. So Heimerdinger, who looks like this little cute little, I don't even know what he looks like. He looks like a little hamster, but he's a person, a very short hamster. That's how I can describe him as. So he looks at this leaf and basically says to Echo that it's troubling, but they will go and seek about its origins basically. So what they're going to have to do is enlist the help of Jace. So they end up sneaking back into the laboratory where Jace and Heimerdinger used to work together as well. Heimerdinger ends up seeing this the empty hex core skin that had Viktor held in it basically, and he immediately asks Jace, because you know Jace ends up catching them once they've come in, and he'll immediately ask Jace, where's Viktor? Because I think Heimerdinger knew that whatever was going to happen in regards to Viktor and his hex core and this situation right now is going to spell doom for everybody basically. So you see Viktor at this point is underground. He's walking through the lanes of Zorn, and he's seeing the struggle and demise of the people, and how the other half are living, basically. Because don't forget, all he's ever known is up top. He ain't really known about the bottom half of this situation, but he's being guided by Sky at this moment in time where he needs to go. And then you see him being followed by these people who are completely addicted to Shimmer, who seek to rob him of this metallic gold and purple staff that he's got. So what they would then do is trade that in for Shimmer wherever they can. Now, the Shimmer is basically distorted some of the appearances of these people, especially when the people who use Shimmer consistently, where the addiction has not died, it's distorted their features. They've got hunchbacks, they've got lines of purple coming out of their faces, or, you know, extra growth on their faces and stuff like that. They're not the people that they used to be. So as it quickly moves on from there, you see Jinx is in her little place and she's making a new arm for Savika. As you see, as I said, the noxious gas Grey is throwing in where she is, and incoming forces. But Jinx soon realizes that one of those enforcers is very, very, very familiar, and it's her sister. Jinx does end up aiming her gun at her, but you can see that she's in such turmoil. She knows she can't pull that trigger. She knows she won't be able to kill her sister, because at the end of the day, Jinx still seeks validation from Vi. She still craves her sister's love and acceptance. At the end of the day, that hasn't gone away for Jinx at all. No matter that she's this, as I would say, this crazed person at the moment who doesn't know whether she's coming or going, that wasn't her first experiences of her sister. She knows her first experiences of her sister and the relationship that they had. So that essentially, the essence of that sisterly bond for them two hasn't necessarily gone away for Jinx, but Jinx has turned into somebody else completely due to being a product of her environment at the end of the day with Silco. Vi definitely hasn't forgotten about her sister. Vi definitely still loves her sister, but at the end of the day, Vi is in a catch-22 situation. She knows her sister is doing some fucked up shit. She knows her sister has done some fucked up shit, and I think she wants to save her sister but doesn't know how to do it. So right now she has no choice but to don this uniform in order to try and capture and get closer to her sister, to try and speak to her in that sense. So Jinx manages to make a run for it, but she ends up running into danger. It's Batfink, Gargoyle and his cronies. Batfink Gargoyle again is Smeech. Okay, if you've watched it, you know exactly what I mean when I say Batfink Gargoyle. Okay. Jinx can fight though. Let's not get it twisted. Jinx can fight. She ain't stupid. So she basically shocked Smeech when she told him that she's the one that kills Silco. Savika, you see, comes in to help her, and Savika basically ends up throwing this new arm from Jinx. Let's just say it's a very freaking cumbersome arm. It does all sorts of things, except Savika has to roll the rotted shit, yeah, with a lever like a freaking pinball machine to get what it is that she needs.
Navy blue. Right through their fingers. They want you alive.
And when I killed him,
You?
it's always me. You're the kind of guy who likes to get in close.
Okay. And again, I'd have to say it's the same thing with the soundtrack, and when the opening scene starts and the fighting, it's just, it's just music to my ears and just a sight for my eyes. That's what it is. It's an orchestra for my eyes and my ears. That's why I love this show so much. So the fight with Smeech is very much short-lived, because he does end up getting ripped apart and killed, basically, by Savika and her newly powered arms. So Jinx turns around and says that she plans to finish what she started, and in essence she plans to finish off what's left of her family. So basically she is planning to end Vi's life, but we all know Jinx is not going to be able to do that. She's not going to be able to do that. At the end of the day, her sister is her lifeline. Her sister is her people. So she's not going to be able to do it, because she still holds too much love and softness for her sister to literally try and harden herself to that point where she could literally do away with the last surviving family member at the end of the day. So we go deep back into the bowels of the underground. They're in the fissures of the Arcane, and you see Sky speaking to Viktor, and as she speaks his name, this glow of I can't even say what it is, like a web, but it's a different kind of coloured web, starts to show. So he knows where he stood is where he needs to be, basically. So when these people who were affected by the shimmer literally try to threaten Viktor, Viktor ends up touching this guy, touching him, but as he touches him to seep some power into him, or to read this man's mind, because he can connect that way, let's just put it that way, he can connect that way. Once he touches someone, he gets drained of what his essence to, so he falls to his knees. So as he falls to his knees, this guy who was literally like lumps and bumps all over the place, was totally disfigured by shimmer. You see who he is, his likeliness comes forward, basically, and everything else is disappeared, but yet you see these markings on his head where Viktor has touched him.
Scrape up the gear. Won't sell us.
You need not suffer anymore.
Touched him. So that's how it starts, with Viktor now looking like he's this some kind of what do you want to say, they're looking at him as some kind of savior, as some kind of god at this point, in regards to the fact that this man has literally healed this other person from the addiction that he had. So then you see, as it's coming to a close, that Sky is literally standing in front of Viktor with her hand on this man's arm who is just healed, and she's smiling at him. But as the camera pans out, you don't see Sky in reality at the end of the day, because Viktor is attached to this hex core, and this hex core sucked Sky in there. That's how he can see her. She only exists in that realm, to be honest with you. So it kind of bends the lines of reality in regards to that. So then on this very last bit, we see the crazy doctor, where I told you at the end of the episode, he'd literally gone to a burrow where there were two foxes in it, two big henched foxes, let's put it this way, with his own noxious gas. But then it showed you a clip of this wolf, I was meant to say, this with the skin of the wolf hanging, yeah. And this is what I mean, and he's doing what it is that he does. This man likes to experiment. He really does. He's got a morbid sensibility in terms of what it is that he does do, and how he bonds certain people with certain things, yeah. And that started from season 1, to be honest with you, because he used to work under Silco as his full-on doctor in terms of creating shimmer. So that's where that episode ended, and I will be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, my renegades, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know I'm going to do videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because you know I'm on the road to 1k, and I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Peace out.